Commander Zixral of the Galactic Coalition Fleet watched his tactical display with growing despair. The Kravath invasion force had broken through the third defensive line, and his mixed-species battalion was retreating in disorder. Purple ichor stained his command chair where he'd gripped it too hard with his crystalline talons. "Coalition Central, this is Forward Command Theta 9, he transmitted, his translator box struggling to keep his voice steady. "We need immediate reinforcements. The Kravath have deployed their shock troopers. My forces cannot hold." The response crackled back almost instantly. "Theta 9, reinforcements en route. ETA 12 minutes. Call sign, Deathworld Veterans." Zixral's three eyes widened. Deathworld. He knew that designation. It referred to Terra, that nightmare planet in the outer spiral arm where everything, from the weather to the wildlife, actively tried to kill its inhabitants. He'd read the reports, seen the biological assessments. Terrans were classified as a Class 7 survival species, capable of enduring conditions that would liquefy most civilized beings. But these were veterans, old soldiers from humanity's previous conflicts, pulled from retirement for this crisis. What use would ancient warriors be against the Kravath's genetically enhanced killing machines? "Acknowledged, Central," he replied, doubt thick in his translated voice. 11 minutes later, the dropships descended through the smoke-choked sky. They were crude by galactic standards, built for function rather than elegance. The hatches blew open with chemical explosives, how primitive, and the Terrans emerged. Zixral felt his respiratory systems falter. The first out was a female, her designation patch reading SGT Elsa Morrison, Terran Expeditionary Force. Her skin was weathered and scarred, with strands of silver threading through her dark hair. She moved with a predatory grace that made Zixral's survival instincts scream warnings. Behind her came a male, taller and broader, his face a roadmap of old battles. The patch on his armor read CPL Verk Chen. Both had to be at least 50 Terran years old, perhaps 60. Ancient by combat standards, yet they moved like coiled springs, weapons held with casual expertise that spoke of decades-ingrained muscle memory. "Commander Zixral?" Elsa approached, her voice rough like grinding stone. "Where are your reinforcements? Where do you need us?" "Sergeant Morrison," Zixral stammered. "The Kravath shock troopers are advancing on the eastern ridge. They stand 3 meters tall, have reinforced exoskeletons and regenerative capabilities. My forces, we've taken 70% casualties trying to slow them." Elsa exchanged a glance with Verk. Something passed between them, some unspoken communication that Zixral's translator couldn't parse. Then Verk smiled, and it was not a pleasant expression. 3 meters, Verk said. "Hell, Elsa, remember those Tangrathi heavies on Proxima Station? Those bastards were 4 meters and had actual armor plating. And we dropped them with thermite and patience," Elsa replied. She turned to Zixral. "Commander, have your forces pull back another 100 meters. We'll handle the ridge." "But there are only 47 of you," Zixral protested, his translator crackling with distress. 47 Terran combat veterans, Elsa corrected. "We're enough." What happened next would be studied in galactic military academies for generations. The old Terrans moved through the battlefield like they owned it. They didn't charge recklessly or rely on superior firepower. Instead, they used the terrain, turned rubble into cover and smoke into concealment. They communicated in abbreviated codes, each hand signal a tactical novel compressed into a gesture. Verk led a flanking team through what appeared to be a kill zone, but they moved during the precise moments when the Kravath sensors swept away. Elsa set up overlapping fields of fire that turned the Kravath's numerical advantage into a liability. When the aliens bunched up to use their regeneration pools, the Terrans dropped improvised explosives that Verk had assembled from battlefield scrap in under 3 minutes. Zixral watched through his tactical display as a Kravath shock trooper, all 3 meters of bioengineered killing machine, charged directly at Elsa's position. She didn't run. She stood her ground, let it close to within 5 meters, then sidestepped with impossible fluidity and placed 3 shots into the weak points, where its exoskeleton segmented. The giant alien crashed down, and Elsa was already moving to her next position. "How?" Zixral whispered to himself. "How are they doing this?" One of his Zenthari tactical officers, who had studied Terran military history, leaned closer. "Commander, those soldiers aren't just veterans. They're from Earth's consolidation wars. Before they joined the Coalition, Terrans spent centuries fighting each other. They developed tactics for urban warfare, Asymmetric combat, guerrilla operations. They learned to fight when outgunned, outnumbered, and out of supplies. But they're so old, Zixral protested. On Earth, the Zenthari continued. That means they're experienced. They've survived everything their own deathworld threw at them, plus decades of combat. Age doesn't weaken them. It makes them more dangerous because they've learned every lesson and paid for it in blood. Within 37 minutes, the eastern ridge was secure. The Kravath shock troopers lay scattered. Their supposedly unbeatable forces broken by 47 old humans who fought with a cold. Calculated efficiency that terrified their allies almost as much as their enemies. Elsa and Verk returned to the command post barely winded. Elsa's armor had new scorch marks, and Verk was field dressing a shallow wound on his arm, with the casual indifference of someone treating a paper cut. "Ridge is yours, Commander," Elsa reported. "We'll need ammunition resupply and about 20 minutes rest. Then you can point us at the next problem." Zixral stared at them, his three eyes trying to process what he'd witnessed. "Sergeant Morrison, how did your team accomplish what an entire battalion could not?" Elsa glanced at Verk, and that dangerous smile appeared again. "Commander, with respect, you're asking the wrong question. You shouldn't ask how we did it. You should ask why the Kravath never had a chance." "Why?" Zixral asked, unable to help himself. "Because," Verk answered, his voice carrying the weight of 1,000 battlefields. "They're not from Earth. They didn't grow up dodging tsunamis, earthquakes, and predators that evolved specifically to hunt primates. They never had to fight their own brothers over resources on a planet that gave nothing freely. They're tough, sure, but we're from a death world, Commander." Elsa nodded, loading a fresh magazine into her weapon. "We're what survives when everything else wants you dead. We're Terrans, and we're really good at killing things that need killing." As they walked away to join their team, Zixral finally understood why the galaxy both welcomed and feared humanity's entrance into the coalition. Old soldiers from Earth weren't weakened by age. They were refined by it, distilled into something that no genetic engineering or technological enhancement could replicate. They were survivors from a planet that specialized in creating survivors, and the Kravath were about to learn what that truly meant.